Before we proceed with our story of the helicopter at work, I would like you to meet the management. From his office at number 10 hangar, Epson Airport, T.P. Tommy Fox, President, guides the fortunes of Associated Helicopters. To manage the operation, Tommy chose S. Rex Kaufman, youthful veteran of air operations. With a model, Rex demonstrates the unique characteristics of the helicopter, an almost vertical takeoff. Moving from the model in Rex's office, we see one of Associated's helicopters doing a dance. The amazing maneuverability and slow-flying characteristics of the helicopter open new fields for air transportation. They make places accessible in minutes that could not be reached for hours, if at all. To illustrate, during a non-seasonal muddy period, an oil company found that it could no longer reach its drilling rigs and faced a costly shutdown. But the helicopters were called in, and for 2 months, 7 drilling crews and rigs were fully supported at a saving of untold thousands of dollars in man-hours and production costs. Mechanically, Associated helicopters have proven very reliable. But that reliability was not blind chance. It was ensured by a staff of competent and conscientious engineers with modern engineering equipment to back up the flying operations. Here we see a machine in the Associated shop being given the 600-hour check. There is a complete disassembly of the machine, engine, airframe, and all moving parts, with each being carefully checked for deterioration or fatigue. Engineering science has given the helicopter engineer the Magnaflux, Zyglow, and X-ray techniques to check surface and internal fatigue flaws, which are a valuable guard against failures in the field, where time and money might be lost through undetected trouble missed at the check time. The magnafluxing process is employed on the fares part, and you see the engineer checking the process surface for telltale cracks, seams, and subsurface blowholes, inclusions, etc., which would escape the naked eye. The Zyglow process is used on the non-ferrous parts, such as the aluminum and magnesium alloys used in the transmission case, for instance. For internal weaknesses, the X-ray process is also used. And so, with the combination of these modern processes, all used in Associated engineering, reliability and safety in flying operations are ensured. After all the parts have been carefully checked, replacements made where necessary, the assembly process gets underway. In the early stage of helicopter experience, both in Canada and elsewhere, many parts had a short life compared to that experienced with fixed-wing aircraft. For instance, engine baskets, which even now only have a life of 2,500 hours, a relatively few years ago were discarded at 600 hours. But with amazing rapidity, as flying time was rolled up, maintenance and engineering problems have been solved, and costs, which were once high in relation to hours flown, have been substantially reduced. An important management problem met and conquered in the helicopter engineering field in Canada was the training costs of helicopter engineers. At first, the intensive know-how was all at the factory, 3,000 miles away from number 10 hangar. But as the roll of Texas graduates increased and experience on the job mounted, the flow of knowledge was not all one way. Bush flying in Canada has its own unique differences. Canadian engineers took a post-grad degree on topics which their instructors had never heard. Now, associated engineers, taught in theory and practiced on the job, can teach the newcomer many techniques which they themselves wrote into the approved manual. During the interim between this very thorough general overhaul we see here, field checks are carried out by the engineers daily and at 25, 50, 75, 100, and 300-hour intervals, all of which guarantee top flight performance on the job. To further ensure real service, Associated keeps a duplicate set of helicopter parts, which permits quick replacement rather than waiting for time-consuming repair work during a busy work schedule. As high utilization during the relatively short summer work season is most important, maintenance delays could be costly to both, and a sound, efficient maintenance and servicing organization is essential to give the customer service for which Associated is justly proud. While the engineering staff ready the helicopter, management plans the logistical problems as economically and quickly as possible, establishing gas caches and surveying the area. The area where the helicopter is to be used and shown on this map is in the far northwest, out on Canada's last frontier, beyond railhead and highways, in the land of the trapper and the Hudson's Bay Post. To get the helicopters from the shop to the site speedily and without building up unnecessary engine time, which is wanted on the job, Associated calls upon its apparent company, the Airways. 2 helicopters can be stowed easily in the massive holds of the Bristol freighter without much more preparation than on-stepping the mast and snaking the machine up the ramp. The rotor head and blades are stowed intact alongside the machine, and the skids are removed as they are a bit wider than the 7-foot width of the Bristol's clamshell doors. But well within 2 hours from turning to the job, the helicopters are prepared, stowed, and the Bristol underway. Another aspect of a successful helicopter operation in the remote north is adequate supply from the outside. But with the base camp established on a convenient lake with which Canada's Northland abounds, an Airways float plane can easily keep the camp supplied with food, fuel, and liaison with the outside world. Where communication and supply used to be measured in weeks, radio and aircraft have brought the outpost parties within seconds by radio and only hours in person. From beside the supplies on the beach, the helicopter's ready for a flight to the job site, the last leg of the carefully planned operation. It is this teamwork between the airplane and the helicopter, using each machine on the part of the job for which it has the highest utility, that spells lower cost operation to the customer. It is this integrated service that gives you the extra value, making your budget dollar work harder for you. Turning back the pages of progress a bit, and not far in time at that, we see a party setting out for a summer's work. As the kicker pushes the dugout farther from civilization, all the problems of supply, communications, and work accomplishment are tied not only to the horsepower of the kicker, but the winding water courses and rugged bushland trails.